it's me, Grace. Today we're going to use our trusty eye crochet hooks and make another cloth. So this is cloth number 7. We're a little more than halfway through the 12 dishcloths of Christmas. It doesn't seem like it should be this close to Thanksgiving or Christmas. Thanksgiving's next week. I hope you have a really wonderful Thanksgiving with your family and friends. I'm just hoping for a good peaceful Thanksgiving this year. I really don't feel ready. I want to, but we've been so busy, it seems like I feel like it's crept up on me and I'm really just not ready for it. And I was reminded yesterday, I just, felt in my heart, I was thinking, it's really sad that I'm not ready for Thanksgiving. And then I just felt in my heart, that's not what's important. It's not important to feel ready. It's important that your heart's right. And so I just need to have a thankful heart and be thankful that I have my family with me still, and that God has been so gracious to give us good health and prosperity this year, and we're extremely blessed. And so I just need to focus on those things instead of how ready I feel. Please forgive again the squeaky chair and the dryer. I've got some items in the dryer that are being donated later today, so I wanted to get them washed and dried. So if you hear the dryer noises, that's what that's about. Today, our cloth is a Christmas candle, and I hope this goes well. I've got it all charted out on my paper, but I've been doing a lot of pot holders lately, so I've been using up all the extra cotton yarn that I had, and somehow I ended up using up most of my dark blue. So this is all I have left of my dark blue, and I don't think it's enough for my background, honestly. That's what I wanted to use, but I don't think I have enough, and I don't want to get started and then run out because I don't have any extra. And then, quite frankly, I'm getting a little tired of using this green. I really wish I had a different green I could use, but I don't. So I'm going to switch up a little bit and use this little scrap of wool yarn that I had left over. I'm trying to remember what brand it was. I don't remember. It could have been Peyton's even. I honestly don't remember. I remember it was wool, but I'm going to use that. Since it's a dishcloth, it doesn't matter if it gets felted or whatever. And then I used up all my yellow. I can't believe I should have known I needed yellow till the end of my cloth series, and I have not been to the yarn store at all. I haven't been to Joann's, so I don't have any extra yellow. I had one ball, and then I used up the end of my ball on a pot holder. So, goodness, I'm just using up everything. But this is alpaca, and it's kind of an orangish yellow, kind of a pumpkin-y color. And my daughter chained, it was, it's a really thin, small yarn, and she wanted to chain stuff, and I said, well, here, chain this. And so she chained up a bunch of it for me, and that makes it a little bit thicker, so I'm going to try to use that, and it'll make a little bit different look to the cloth, but since it's alpaca, it'll wash well. I'm not worried about that, and it's just a dishcloth, you're going to be washing dishes with it, so it really doesn't matter. So whatever yellow or maybe orange you want to use for the flame is good. A little bit of green for some greenery around the candle. I'm going to use this variegated blue for the background, even though it wasn't my first choice. I asked my kids, I polled them, I said, well, which one should I use? I had 3 choices, and this is what they picked, so all I can say is it better be right. And then we're going to do white for the actual candle. You know what? I didn't pick something for the candle holder. That's okay. We'll use red. We'll use red for the candle holder. Okay? So, let's get started. Okay, and as we've done for our other cloths, we're going to start with a foundation chain of 21. So let's start with a slip knot. And simply chain 21, kind of loosely. Alrighty, we're going to do 2 rows just of single crochet with this background color, so whatever background color you choose. We're going to work into the second chain from the hook, so not this one but the next one. Just go ahead and insert your hook, yarn over and pull it through, yarn over and pull through the 2 loops on your hook, and that's a single crochet. Of course, if you're an experienced crocheter, you can just tune me out, but that's for anyone who might be a beginner. Alright, and so we're going to just do 1 single crochet into each stitch across. You should end up with 20 single crochets. Okay. Last 2 stitches on this row. Okay. Now turn your work. Let's chain 1 and work 1 single crochet into each stitch across. Alright, let's turn our work. So that's the 2 rows completed, the 2 beginning rows. Now we're going to work, or let's chain 1, work 1 single crochet. Let's pull up a loop in the second one. Now take your green, whichever green you're using. I'm using this wool, which I haven't really done cotton and wool together before, so this is kind of a new experience for me. But I think that it'll be cute because it's going to add a lot of texture, a little different feel to that area of the cloth. And these cloths that I'm making, they're not really for as gifts, they're just, I do them for the tutorial and then I use them. So I may or may not choose to give some as gifts, but if I do, then I'll know whether using the wool with the cotton is a good idea or not, won't I? Alright, so let's go ahead and work across the blue, and we're going to work across this tail of green as well. We're going to take 1 single crochet, or not 1 single crochet, but pull up a loop. Excuse me. Alright, drop the green, pick up the blue and complete that stitch. Pull up a loop in the next one with the blue. I know it's a lot of pulling up loops, but see how it works out. Okay, and then whichever color you're using for your candle holder, mine happens to be red. Let's go ahead and complete that stitch. And we're going to work 11 single crochets, working across, whoops, make sure you're not working across the green, so we want that for later. Alright, work across the blue and the tail of red, and let's take 11 single crochets. 2, 3, 'Alright, and now in the next one we're just going to pull up a loop. Alright, complete that stitch with blue. let's work 1 single crochet of blue, and then the next one we're going to pull up a loop. If you don't have 2 separate pieces of green, you can just kind of pull off a good amount. We're not going to need a lot of it for the one side, and then attach a new piece to this side, because we're going to have kind of a cluster on one side and then a cluster on the other. So let's go ahead and attach another piece of green. Alright, and complete that stitch. We're going to pull up a loop in the next one just with green, and then pick up that blue and complete the stitch with blue, and then there's 1 single crochet left, so go ahead and work that with blue. Now we're ready for the next row, so of course we're going to turn the work. We're going to chain 1, and in the first stitch we're just pulling up 1. No, we're not pulling up 1. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong side of my diagram. Okay, sorry about that. So 1 single crochet, and then pull up a loop in the second one. We're going to complete this stitch with green. Let's go ahead and bring up your green, complete that stitch, pull up a loop in the next one. Whoops, make sure you're working across the blue. Okay, and then complete that stitch with blue, pull up a loop in the next one with the blue, bring up your red, or whatever your candle holder color is, complete that stitch, and let's work 11 single crochets across. If at any time your yarn gets tangled, like mine is starting to do, go ahead and stop and reset everything. And then in the 12th one, pull up a loop. We're going to, you know what I did? Do you believe that I did that whole row and didn't carry my blue? Alright, reset. Okay, when we pull up a loop with the candle holder color, which in my case happens to be red, we're going to complete that stitch with green. Alright, and work 1 single crochet. No, not 1. Pull up a loop, sorry. Complete that stitch with blue, pull up a loop in the next with blue. Let's make sure we're carrying the green though. Carry that green, and pull up a loop with the blue, complete that stitch with green. Alright, and then pull up a loop of green. Make sure you're carrying the blue. Complete that stitch with blue, and then there is 1 single crochet on the end. I hope you're able to follow along with me. This cloth is a good bit more complicated than I've done yet, so just kind of stick with me and hopefully we'll make it work out. If not, it'll still be cloth number 7. Alright, so on this row, we're going to chain 1, of course. We're going to work 3 single crochets of blue. Oops. 2, 3, and then pick up a loop right there in the 4th one. Just pull that up. We're going to complete the stitch with green. So bring up your green. Alright, and then in the next stitch we're pulling up green. So just pull up a loop of green. Whoops, make sure you're working across the blue. I keep forgetting to carry. Somehow my neurons are not firing correctly this morning. I'm tired. It's been busy this week. Alright, so complete that stitch with blue. Pull up a loop. You don't need to carry the green, but pull up a loop of blue, and then complete that stitch with candle holder color, which in my case is red. And we're going to carry the blue and take 7 single crochets. Here I go again. I told you to carry the blue and I'm not doing it. So 7 single crochets and then pull up a loop in the 8th one. Complete that stitch with green. So just bring that green on up. Remember, since it's coming from way over here, we want to leave it loose enough that it's not going to make a pucker in the cloth. We'll work it in so that it doesn't really show somehow, but you know, you want to leave it loose enough that it's not going to make a pucker there. Alright, and so now we have our green attached. We're going to pull up a loop of green, complete that stitch with blue, pull up a loop of blue, and you know, we're working across the green here, the green that we carried up. Alright, complete that stitch with green, pull up a loop of green, complete that stitch with blue. Wait a minute, I didn't carry. Alright, so pull that up and then complete the stitch with blue. Again, pull up a loop, complete that stitch with green, pull up a loop of green, complete that stitch with blue, and then work, oops, I pulled up both, didn't I? Just the blue. Okay, work 1 single crochet on the end with the blue. Okay, so this is what we have so far. Now let's work the next row. It's a little more difficult than the other projects that I've done, a little more complicated with all the color changes that are going on early on. There won't be as much going on in a little while. So, alright, so chain 1, we're gonna start this row with 3 single crochets of blue. In the 4th one, oops, pull up a loop, completing that stitch with the green. Alright, and then pull up a loop of green. Remember to work across the blue. Complete that stitch with blue, pull up a loop of blue in the next one and work across the green this time because we still need it. Complete that stitch with green. Oops. Alright, pull up a loop of green, working across the blue, of course. Complete that stitch with blue. We're going to pull up a loop of blue. And now let's get the candle color, which in my case is white. Complete that stitch with white. So now we're going to start the candle itself. We're going to take 3 single crochets. Let's work across, let's see, well, we're done with the candle holder color, so that's one we can clip the tail on and remove from the project. So that's one that's completed. So that's good. If you want to take a minute and weave in the ends, you can do that. I'm not going to do mine right this minute. I'm going to go ahead and complete this row and complete that stitch. And as you work across the blue, also work across this tail of white, and we'll go ahead and tuck that in. There will be less to weave in later. So we're going to take 3 single crochets, 1, 2, oops, and 3, and pull up a loop, of course, in the 4th. You knew that was coming, didn't you? Complete that stitch now with green. So wherever your green is from the other side here. And remember what we did before, we just worked that in as we went along, but leave enough that it's not going to cause a pucker in the cloth there. And if your loops get sloppy, just pull them from the back. Alright, now we're going to take a stitch. We're still working across the blue. Take a stitch with, or not a stitch, but pull up a loop of green. Complete that stitch with blue, so drop your white, okay? And then pull up a loop in the next one, carry that green. Go ahead and work across the green. Pull up a loop of blue, complete that stitch with green. Okay, pull up a loop of green, complete that stitch with blue. And now we're going to work to the end just with blue. So single crochet in each stitch to the end just with blue. It should be 5 single crochets. Okay, I'm going to take a minute and weave in all the ends that are hanging out. Okay, for the next row, let's go ahead and chain 1. We are on row number 7. We're going to work 3 single crochets of blue, and pull up a loop in the 4th stitch. Whoops. Complete that stitch, of course, with the green. Remember to carry your blue. We're going to pull up a loop of green. Finish that stitch with the blue. Pull up a loop of blue, working across the green. Okay, complete that stitch with green. Now working across the blue, we're going to pull up a loop of green. Alright, drop the green. Complete this stitch with white, and so we're going to work the candle again. Working still across the blue, we're going to take 3 single crochets, and pull up a loop in the 4th one. Instead of completing the stitch with blue, we're going to use green. So bring your green up and complete that stitch. Okay, now in the next stitch we're going to pull up a loop of green, completing that stitch with blue, and now we're going to work 2 single crochets of blue, but we're going to work across the green. We're going to carry that. 1, 2, and in the 3rd one pull up a loop, completing that stitch with green, working across the blue now. Pull up a loop of green, complete that stitch with blue, pull up a loop of blue, complete that stitch with green, pull up a loop of green, complete that stitch with blue, and then there should be 1 single crochet at the end, which we're going to work with blue. For row number 8, we're going to start by chaining 1, make 1 single crochet of blue, and in the 2nd one just pull up a loop. We're going to complete this stitch, of course, with green, pull up a loop of green, completing that stitch with blue, pull up a loop of blue, complete that stitch with green, pull up a loop of green, complete that stitch with blue, and at this point I am running out of green, so I'm going to tie on a little bit to this side. That way I can keep on going. Alright, completing that stitch with blue, pull up a loop of blue, and complete the stitch with the green. Pull up a loop of green, complete the stitch with blue. Alright, now take a loop of blue, pull it up in the next one, and of course we're going to complete this stitch now with white. Getting ready to work the candle again. Remember to carry your blue across, so we're going to work 3 single crochets of the white candle and then pull up a loop in the 4th one. We're going to complete this stitch with blue, so drop the white. Okay, make 1 single crochet of blue. I can get it back on the hook. Okay, and then in the next one, pull up a loop of blue, complete the stitch with green, pull up a loop of green, complete that stitch with blue, pull up a loop of blue, complete that stitch with green, okay. Pull up a loop of green, complete that stitch with blue. Okay. Work the last 2 stitches with blue. For row number 9, of course, we're going to turn and chain 1. We're going to work 1 single crochet of blue, and then in the second one pull up a loop, completing that stitch with green. Alright, pull up a loop of green, complete that stitch with blue. Pull up a loop of blue, complete that stitch with green. 1 more loop of green in the next one, completing that stitch with blue. Alright, and then work 2 single crochets of blue. No. 1, and then pull up a loop. I'm getting a tangle in my yarn, so I'm going to have to stop in just a minute and untangle it. Alright, so go ahead and complete that stitch with white. I'm going to take just a minute and untangle my yarn. Okay, now that I'm all untangled, let's work across the blue for 3 single crochets of white, or whatever your candle color is. In the 4th one, of course, we're going to pull up a loop, and we're going to complete that stitch with blue. Take 1 single crochet of blue, and in the second one, just pull up a loop. You know the drill by now. We're going to complete this stitch with green. Okay, pull up a loop of green, complete that stitch with blue. Alright, now we're going to work 2 single crochets of blue, pull up a loop in the 3rd one, completing that stitch with green, pull up a loop of green, complete that stitch with blue, and then work that last stitch in blue. This is the end of row 9. Okay, for row 10, we're going to chain 1, work 2 single crochets, And in the third one, pull up a loop, complete that stitch with green. Okay, in the next one, pull up a loop of green, complete that with blue, then a loop of blue in the next one, completing that stitch with the green. Okay, pick up a loop of green in the next one, completing that stitch with blue. Okay, and now for the next two stitches, well, for the next stitch we're going to take a blue single crochet and then pull up a loop, complete that stitch with white. Working across the blue, we're going to take 3 single crochets and pull up a loop in the fourth one. Okay, and complete that stitch with blue. Take 2 single crochets, and in the third one, simply pull up a loop. We're going to complete that stitch with green. Alright, pull up a loop of green, complete that stitch with blue, and then work the final stitches to the end, which are 3 single crochets to the end. 2 and 3. And that's row 10. After row 10, we're finished with green. So let's go ahead and clip tails and weave in the ends. Okay, we're on row number 11. We're going to chain 1 and take 7 single crochets of blue. Oops. In the 8th one, pull up a loop, complete that stitch with white. Working across the blue, take 3 single crochets. In the third one, let's pull up a loop, complete that stitch with blue, and work blue to the end. We should have 8 single crochets. Okay, for the next row, which is row 12, we're pretty much going to do the same thing for 12, 13, and 14. So let's work 12, 13, and 14 just like we did this one. So I'll work the next one with you. We're just going to do 7 single crochets of blue. Up a loop in number 8. Complete that with white. Working across the blue, we're going to take 3 single crochets. In the fourth one here, pull up a loop, complete that stitch with blue, and then complete the row to the end for 8 single crochets with blue. Got one more. Alright, so the next 2 rows are going to be exactly like this row. So go ahead and work the next 2 rows just like this one, and I'll work mine and then I'll show you the next step. For row 15, we're going to work 8 single crochets, so of course chain 1, Work 8 single crochets. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And in the 9th one, let's pull up a loop. Take your flame color and complete that stitch. Okay, and now of course we're working across the blue. We're going to take 1 single crochet, and in the second one we're just pulling up a loop. Complete that stitch with blue. Okay, and work the rest of the stitches to the end just with blue. There should be 9 of them. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, so now we're on row 16. We're going to do the same thing. So just repeating what we just did. We're going to work 8 single crochets, pull up a loop in number 9, complete that stitch with your flame color. Okay, working across the blue, we're going to take 1 single crochet and pull up a loop in the second, completing that stitch with blue, and then work blue to the end for 9 single crochets. Okay, the next row is going to be worked exactly the same, so I'm going to leave you to do that. And then the following 3 rows are going to be just blue. Okay, so 1 more row, just like we did this one, and then 3 rows just of blue in single crochet. Okay, I've completed mine, and you should have 2. So now I'm going to take a few minutes and just weave in the ends. You can do the same, and then, you know, when you're finished, you can add a border. There are so many borders you could add. It's just, goodness, finding one is the thing. So just so you know, somewhere around row number 8, I lost a stitch. I don't really know how I did that because I was trying to count and follow my design. So if that did happen to you, of course you can add in another stitch or on the end of a row, and then your design will be back like it should be. But you can see it kind of pulls in right here, and that's why. It's because I lost a stitch on a couple of rows and then had to add that back in, so that's why up here it looks right, and then it dips in here and is back out here. But anyhow, I've got a couple more little things to add. You can leave yours this way. That's up to you. But I'm going to add another couple little things if you want to just kind of stick around and see what I'm adding, and you know, decide for yourself whether you want to add them or not. But I'm going to take a minute and weave in the ends, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do next. Okay, from here on out, I'm just going to be using my yarn needle in a couple different colors. I'm going to use some red, and I'm going to take that same alpaca yarn, but not the one that I had chains of. This one is just the regular yarn. So I'm going to start with red. I just need a little bit, so I'm just going to clip several inches. Go ahead and thread up my yarn needle. And what I'm going to do is attach a loop, because you know the old-fashioned candle holders had a little finger hole right here that you could carry it by. So I'm going to start somewhere right in here. So I'm just going to put my needle through. That way I can see on the back where I need to attach it. Alright, I'm just going to pull that up like that. I'm going to leave enough tail to weave in. And then I'm going to come through right in there, right at that corner. And I'm going to go across. So I'm just going to go over, I guess about this far. Now I'm going to go up. It doesn't need to be real big, but, and then back through that same hole right there. Okay, and now I'm going to go back up through this one, across to this one, and then back into this one. You know, I might go over one more because that's kind of a big space here. And I think, you know, I'm almost thinking that this is where I missed a stitch. It's right here because I see a big gap there. I'm not sure how I did that, but somehow I managed it. So let's see. Somehow I'm tangled up here. Okay. Alright. So instead of in there, I want to go one more. So to here. And then I'm going to come back up here and go up and out here. Okay, so that'll be the little holder, the little carry loop. You know, if you like it the way it is, just leave it. I just know that, you know, the old style ones have that little finger hole where you can carry it, and I just kind of like the way it looks. So I'm going to go ahead and, you know, the back doesn't look pretty, but since it's just for me, I'm not going to worry about it. If this was for someone else, I would leave that part off because it just, you know, the extra threads on the back, they don't look very pretty. Of course, you could take more time with it and hide them better between the stitches here, but I'm not going to take time for that right now. Like I said, this isn't a gift, this is just for me. So now up here at the flame, I'm going to join on, well, I'm going to thread my yarn needle with a little bit of this color. I'm going to need a little bit more than I had of the red, I think. So couple feet. Alright, and on the back I'm just going to attach it on somewhere and leave enough to weave in. Alright. Now what I'm going to do is start at the corner and I'm going to work my way up diagonally. So out this way, and then I want to work from the middle, just up a little bit. Okay, again diagonally this way. Out the side. I guess about like this. And then down as well, diagonally from the flame. And on this side also. Working out and down. And then from the middle. Okay, so obviously from the front it looks okay. From the back you can see there's just kind of stuff going everywhere. If you don't like that, just leave this part off. you don't have to do the embellishments. I'm just gonna weave in the ends with crochet, and especially with the charting and doing different designs, it's kind of trial and error. You really don't know how it's going to turn out as a finished design, because obviously you're looking at it on paper and it looks okay on paper, but it doesn't always translate quite the same into the finished products. But I hope you had fun with this project anyway. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was something a little different for you to do this holiday season. And I just really hope that you have a wonderful Thanksgiving and a very Merry Christmas. Thanks again for watching. Bye.